I like the idea of trying to make a difference in the world, a positive difference, and be a positive influence. So, as a business, I feel sharing the right stories, we can hopefully be a bit of a beacon, and just continue to share positivity.
This is The Producers. I'm Anthony Huckstep. With a goal to create delicious food from sustainable produce, Tom Eadie not only built one of the best sourdough bakeries in the country, but actively supported healthier local communities in the process.
Yeah, Berkelo is a business established about 6 years ago now. We're currently a group of 4 shops, Mona Vale, Mossman, Manly and Brookvale. Brookvale's where we make all the food. We started a sourdough pasta business with some blokes out in the country last year, and we wholesale our bread to a small number of restaurants and cafes locally. We do a couple of farmers markets, the Carriage Works and the Warriewood at the moment. We've got a little veggie garden up in Terry Hills that adds some beautiful value to the business. That's Berkelo at the moment, mate.
Berkelo started as a simple idea to form the basis of a food group with a focus on restaurants. But as Tom soon discovered, the bakery began to open doors he hadn't considered.
Started, I suppose, based off the idea of making a loaf of bread, stripping food back to a loaf of bread. I think I was 27 at the time, and I thought, we'll square away the best version of a bakery we can manage in a year, and then we'll be onto a restaurant. Prior to that, so I suppose since I was 16, I've been working as a chef in dealing with all styles of foods, and Berkelo was kind of a nice chance to give bread the focus it deserved and go on that journey. But I think it was a bit of a immature thought at the time about business, that's for sure. It's took a bit more than a year to turn a dollar, that's for sure. And didn't realise the extent of kind of what I was getting into. So yeah, mate, leased the back of a bakery in DY on Oaks Avenue. Funnily enough, the same street I was born on. Which was bizarre. That went through my mind a lot. A lot in those first 9 months. I'm home. I'm home, baby. No. So kind of got a couple of great guys on board. Matt, who knew how to make bread better than myself, and still does. Leased that space and built a few recipes out, and got a few customers, and came across the Brookvale site, which had been set up by a European franchise called Le Pain Quotidien. Don't know if you know those guys, but they set that up as a commercial bakery, and was a good opportunity for us to kind of come in and get some equipment that had been left behind, and then really had a crack at it. So we started with a shop out the front there, selling the first recipes we made, which was about 6 styles of bread and pastries and plenty of other little snacks, and had a cafe and a coffee machine, and yeah, mate, just been pushing on since then, I suppose.
The focus on bread allowed Tom and his team to find greater meaning in food and greater connections too.
In the early business years, it was kind of, bread gave us the time to slow down and to think about what we were doing, and to really ask questions about why we're here, and what is this is work, for us, and how do we wish to share. And I suppose one of the early thoughts was not to harm anyone with our food, and so really going deeper into where our ingredients are coming from, and how the flow-on effect of our actions is benefiting others. I mean, food is meant to nourish us, meant to be something that brings value to our day for me, and I believe in it being a really important part of living a fulfilled life is kind of being able to grasp that nutrition. So that's been the journey with Berkelo, is to create high value food. We've spent a heap of time sourcing the right ingredients. We really delved into our flours, where they're sourced, how they're milled. Like I say, we started a veggie garden a few years ago, which has been a fun journey. Very, very poor commercial journey, but that wasn't the point. It was just about learning more about growing foods, but we might leave that to the professionals, the veg growing, and keep our focus moving forward. Mate, I suppose, we wish to do the right thing by wheat and all the grains that we work with. Sourcing properly grown grains, no nasty fertilizers or processes, working directly with people that we know, and to build the long-term trust with those relationships. Not going and combining those ingredients then with poorly sourced ingredients. So just keeping that honesty to our creations. The early morning gives you plenty of time to really go deep.
Soon enough, word got around about the quality and purpose of Berkelo, and the impact of such has helped the brand flourish.
Yeah, we realised how far people travel for good bread, which was incredible. People would come from all over to pick up a loaf of bread. So it's such a special food that seems to hold a lot of importance for people, that makes them get in a car and drive across town, or we customers in Wollongong that would stock up their freezers and come every 3 weeks. Or the romance of that was pretty incredible. We didn't quite have that same feeling. Just felt like we'd with food before in restaurants. It was the most beautiful feeling of working with nature. This bucket of God knows what yeasts that adds all this value to this flour and this water and this salt, and respecting some age-old traditions around how humans interact with a group of ingredients, and then bang, you've got this beautiful vehicle of nutrition that's salty, that's sour, that's crusty, that's can feed a family, So really special food for me.
Everything they do at Berkelo starts with quality produce that is grown ethically and sustainably. And the ethos runs deep from the connections with farmers all the way to the product on the plate.
I suppose we're just the middleman, so it all starts with those guys. We've been out in the country quite a bit this year, and really increasing our knowledge of where food comes from on a large scale, especially in the grain and cereal space. The guys like Greg Morris that we've been hanging out on his farm, and he just the risks they take in order to really go against the commercial ways of operating these days, and taking farming back to a more personal, caring level. We've been trying to champion ancient wheats for their flavour, their nutrition, and their greater ability to kind of create greater soil. So we support these farmers and try and support the risks that they're taking, I suppose. There's not a lot of these ancient wheats are around because of the risks. They're far less yielding. They're often temperamental to grow in general, and more expensive. So, not to mention the smaller seed banks. So farmers have to grow out enough seedlings to warrant a decent crop. This takes a few years of commitment and risk. So, kind of just establishing those relationships. And like I say, we're only 6 years in, so we're still early days in these relationships. Good things seem to take a long time to make an impact on your dreamy ideals of changing the world for the better. Mate, definitely a passion for creating beautiful experiences. I suppose I was drawn to the restaurant life, and that fast turnaround of satisfaction you get from serving something beautiful to someone. I just loved how an experience can be created, and I also love the nourishment, the nurturing, beautiful gift that food is to others when you can bottle it up in your own way and share. So yeah, I love sharing and having great connections with people, and I suppose that's initially what drew me to this space. Just felt easy to find the meaning.
It may be a product that most of us eat daily, but there is a real art to baking quality bread.
The process, so you've got to source the right flour, which is right, I suppose, well grown by someone you trust, and then milled. We believe in stone milling, just for greater retention of nutrients. So there's two main forms of milling: stone, which is the more traditional way, where people have been milling for thousands of years with stones in various manners, and then there's roller milling, which is a newer method. A roller mill is essentially like a large pasta machine where the grain's fed through at high speeds, kind of denuding the grain of the endosperm and various essential oils that would often spoil in previous times. So we used to trade in grains, but now we trade in flour. But that flour often holds a lot less life because of this newer form of milling, but it's still very effective. So yeah, you start with the flour. Got a bit carried away with the flour. I could talk all day about that, but some beautiful filtered water and salt, and then your bucket of natural yeast, sourdough starter, sourdough mama, whatever rocks your boat. You mix them all together in various components. Salt for flavour, to also manage the way that your bread will rise, to slow it down, to slow the yeasts down, and mix by hand at home if you don't have a mixer, or in our bakeries we obviously have some larger commercial options available, big dough hooks. And you build that strength in your dough once you've combined those ingredients. Flours of your choosing. You could world's your oyster there as to how many different combinations you wish to use, and we place folds into our bread every half an hour, I suppose. We place about 6 folds. Bread comes out of the mixers and into buckets, into smaller, more manageable portions, and then it's hand folded, and as it's left to prove and rise and continue to gain strength, you jump in on the process and place turns and folds, and that's then shaped and portioned and then shaped into whatever dough size you're going for that time, and placed into a cloth or a couche or a banneton and a basket which holds the bread, and left to cold ferment for as long as, for 6 hours or for 30 hours. We believe in the longer style of fermentation, and very much in fermentation and the diversity that brings to the food, and then baked, so high temperature oven, and bread goes in, and it's a little score to release some of that moisture, so that the bread can rise into its truest form and form crust, and that's it, mate. Loaf of bread.
There are many ways to bake bread, but sourdough has taken Australia by storm. What makes it so special?
I'm pretty stuck on the introduction of sourdough at the moment in life. I know there's a lot of traditional ways of making bread in other countries, but it seems to be the bulk of what we're selling through Berkelo. So the world's got a taste for it in our part of town. But I'm looking for really well characterized. I'm looking for a crust with plenty of character. So baked pretty hard, and so you get a beautiful caramelization. I'm looking for a wholesome interior. I like a lot of whole wheat in my bread. I'm not looking for something too soft and fluffy, but the world seems to be at the moment. So we it's all a matter of preference. But I kind of like heavy loaves personally to consume. Big slab of butter and you're away. But my favourite loaf that we make at Berkelo from the start has been the brown bread. So that's a mixture of Coruscant, which gives it a beautiful sponginess, rye. There's a touch of honey in there, which balances a bit of the sourness. There's a nice percentage of whole wheat, and then we use a rye sourdough starter, and a nice bit of salt from our mates down at Olsen's Sea Salt. I'm sure you know those blokes, those lovely folk. So that's call it brown bread, and that's been our second recipe we ever made at Berkelo. So it's kind of got a bit of romance to it for me.
Even as the company expands with multiple sites, Tom explains that the interaction and connections made at farmers markets are still core to what they do.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, we have a great time at farmers markets. They're such just a simple way of simple food, simple way of selling, beautiful interaction with people. They've just got a charm about them, the markets. Group of other producers and farmers and whatnot. So it's just a nice way of sharing food. Yeah, doing your weekly shop. We're stoked to be a part of Carriageworks and Warriewood. So we're really lucky to be there, and love moving our food through those means. Yeah.
At Berkelo, Tom's goal is to create delicious food from sustainable produce, creating happiness for their customers and supporting healthier local communities in the process.
I suppose we just have values towards the decisions we make for the people that eat our food. We take the time to think about things for their sake, and we create with the mind, with the kind of embodied mindset of caring for people. And I think that kind of energy always comes through, and that's probably the essence of why people like what we do.
It took years for Berkelo to turn a profit, but Tom's energy and dedication to the local community has helped form a thriving business model that's viable and connects to the community as well.
Mate, it's been a wild journey. It was more than I've been more than a baker since day one of coming up with a name, I think. So the first few years really pulled me around, trying to work out how to make $1 and pay wages and all those business lessons that you wouldn't start a business if you wouldn't do anything if you knew what the reality was. But I suppose in the early years I thought I could do what I wanted, exactly what I wanted, and what I wanted to create for people. And then I found out that a good business does what people want, and in your own way. So how do we bring our experiences and our how do we show up for others daily as a group of people that's now in this thing called a business, and all have the same goal of caring for the community. Bringing back nutrition to towns was one of the lines we used a lot, establishing this business. Kind of the fact that bakeries used to provide nutrition, and when life was simpler, when there was a miller in a flour mill in every town, and an oven which people would share, and when the world was much more diverse and less mono in its expression of food systems that kind of currently make it what it is. But bringing back nutrition to the suburbs we're in is something that we're close to our hearts.
For Tom, whether it was his time in a commercial kitchen chefing or running a bakery, it is the process of providing nourishing food for people which drives him each and every day.
I like the community of people. I like the fact that we get to engage with young people within the business and teach them, be good examples of individuals that can share what we've learnt. I like interacting with our communities from a customer's perspective, and all those relationships you build there. I really love the farmer relationships. I think you might have had Greg from Block 11 on before, and we're just growing out some corn with Greg at the moment in our little Terry Hills garden, and so he can yield a bigger crop next year out there on the Hawkesbury, and we'll get to play around milling that and coming up with recipes. I just love that creative kind of hands-on approach we can have from soil to recipe to in your mouth, and just share that deliciousness with others. I like the idea of trying to make a difference in the world, a positive difference, and be a positive influence. So as a business, I feel it's sharing the right stories. We can hopefully be a bit of a beacon, and just continue to share positivity. I think we're all looking for connection, and we need people to stand out there and remain positive and share good news. I think thank you for your beautiful skill at sharing such beautiful news from around the food space.
This is The Producers, a Deep in the Weeds production. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of producers, farmers, makers and growers, the true lifeblood of the food industry. Follow us on Instagram at Producers Podcast or email us at producerspodcast@deepintheweeds.com.au.